iPhone did not kill laptop. Laptop did not kill PC. PC did not kill huge mainframes. It's just evolutionary process.
So Roman, your journey so far, you've been named one of MIT's top innovators under 35 and Entrepreneur of the Year 2024 by Entrepreneur magazine. Looking back, I'm interested, what personal traits or moments do you think got you to where you are now?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And to be honest, I don't think it's purely, I don't think it's about me purely. It's just, it's just some facets of recognition of what we did in XPANCEO. Well, we had a dream, basically, to change the world by introducing the next generation of computing. We did some good things along this way. We developed many prototypes. We gathered a team of brilliant scientists, managers, executors, visionaries, and we somehow managed to persuade both market and investors that this vision of the future we have at least might have a chance basically to come true. And this recognition you mentioned, those accolades, they just followed. It's natural. It's a natural implication of those, as I said, facets of success. They are, I like the story when capitalization of Apple first surpassed capitalization of Microsoft for the first time. Steve Jobs wrote an email to his fellow co-workers that, guys, this is about our products, not about capitalization. Same goes here. This is about the product and the company, not me.
That's really interesting. So whilst these accolades are amazing, and like you said, they're facets of success, in fact, you're more driven by the problem that you are solving, right? So what is the passion that you have? What is the problem that you're solving? Why are you so passionate about it?
Basically, at some point in my life, I was really triggered by a question, Roman, what do you really want to do with your life? I was 30 years old. It was 5 years ago. I was in the middle of selling my previous company. And once that was early morning, and I sat on my bed and I understood that I have a full day. The full day ahead of me is absolutely empty. I have no meetings or no topics scheduled whatsoever. I'm already, I almost sold the company. And I've been, at that moment, I thought, do you really want to, build next startup? 3 to 5 years, building, pumping, selling? No, that's not about it. That's not what I want to do. And thing is that, this goes deep into my my past and to the past of my family. My grandfather, I was raised by a grandfather, and my grandfather was one of the pioneering engineers who built first computers back in 50s. As I was little like that, he used to take me to his lab where, this bunch of engineers and mathematicians with huge beards and hairs like that used to create the future. And I remembered it, and I understood that really my real passion, my real passion, like a real passion, is computers. I just decided that I want to contribute. And I want to be a part of this amazing development of the next generation of computers.
I think it's a great way to look at it, because a lot of founders that we speak to, whenever when they exit a company, they go one of two ways. They either go straight into something bigger and better, or they turn into someone who is upset, maybe depressed. They feel like they've lost a part of themselves, because a startup is so part of you. Exactly, right. So I'm interested in
that's not me.
Once you took that decision to go into the next business, which was XPANCEO, what did you described it earlier. What is the future of computing to you, and how are you at the forefront of it?
Back then, 5 years ago, before AI hype, I used to explain it like, this digital assistant Iron Man has in the movie.
Yeah, Jarvis.
Yes, Jarvis. I used to explain that I want to build Jarvis and to operate Jarvis through a contact lens. I think by now, and well, to be brief, it's October 12th, 2025. By now, the market and the investors and the users, everyone has basically agreed that next generation of computing is AI computing. So basically, computing power is not in one single device anymore, because they're bulky, they're heavy, they're not interchangeable, they do harm to people, to health, to planet. Computing power and the computer is somewhere in the clouds, and you need in form factors and interfaces to operate it. And don't get me wrong, iPhone did not kill laptop did not kill PC, PC did not kill huge mainframes. It's just evolutionary process. And next step of the evolution, you see each generation of computing, each generation of interfaces and form factors, I mean, was lighter, easier to operate, and closer to human body. And if you think of it, a contact lens might be a great interface, actually, and a great form factor, because it's always there, it's weightless, it does not prevent you from your ordinary course of life. We always say best device is no device, and basically there's no device. It's already there, it's always there. You operate it by your eyes, by voice, by gestures, probably later, like really later, but probably, but eventually we'll come to that. Probably by mind, and personally, I'm a huge believer of neural interfacing. But now we need to, like, until the end of this decade, we need to develop new form factors and interfaces for AI. We call it AI-driven XR computing. AI is the heart and the brain. You operate it through your eyes, voice, gestures. Sometimes you wear glasses when you're in the office. Sometimes you wear a MR helmet for example, when you're a surgeon performing an operation, and when you're out there jogging or doing outdoor sports, when you drive a car, when you operate in space, plenty, like literally myriads of use cases. You might use a contact lens because the whole world is your screen. You operate all your usual apps and data simultaneously, and at the same time it measures your biological parameters and provide you with health advice. So basically, the aim is to merge personal gadgets, wearable tech, and health gadgets into one.
Yeah, well, this is where I think it's really interesting. So you're merging the digital and the physical tech together, right? Do you remember the first moment where you thought to yourself, or you realized the contact lens might be the way forward for this tech?
Oh, it's easy. First of all, I imagined this next computer. Like, we really try to avoid the word computer. Let's call it Jarvis. I imagined this Jarvis. I did not need to imagine it. I saw it in the movie. By the way, we call it officially approved future. Like driverless cars. We've
Yes.
seen them for decades in the movies and in comic books and whatever. Which gadget Batman uses in the latest movie? A contact lens, a smart contact lens. But well, somehow I did not want to develop glasses because, well, too crowded. Too many both big techs and startups develop all kinds of glasses. I did not want to develop VR helmets because, to be honest, VR is great, but well, use case wise, it's very narrow. And then I realized that there's a third form factor, a great form factor. Surprisingly, those wearing contact lenses, they tend to wear them, they stick to them, they do not want to wear glasses, and they do not want to perform surgery. So why shan't we try this in this form factor?
Yeah. I mean, it seems that the contact lens is the least invasive form of tech you could wear. I know it's on your body, it's in your eyes, so that would feel strange for people who've never worn contact lenses to start with. But compared to glasses, which can fall off or fog up, whatever, it seems like the most integrated way that we could wear them. I'm interested to hear from you. to go from vision to prototype is really, really difficult for most companies, right? And I'm interested to hear how you actually took that engineering to the prototype, and what were some of the ethical issues you might have faced in that journey.
It took me, probably a few months to figure out what is the next immediate step that has to be taken in order to just define what kind of R&D do we need to develop this kind of gadget. And it turned out that this gadget, well, it can be developed using this generation of silicon based generation of components, but in case you want it to be really comfortable, you need to shrink components to the size almost unimaginable. I figured out how to approach a gentleman who later became my co-founder, Valentin Volkov, who is one of the world's most well-known physicists in modern optics, and he's especially good with. He and his team are especially good in the thing called two-dimensional materials. Think of it as a layer of material one atom thin, comparing to I'm sure you know that when developing modern microchips, they use one atom, one nanometer thin layer of silicon is considered to be, or sub-nanometer is considered to be, the forefront of technology today. Those guys have managed to develop something that we call next generation of materials. And basically, we use their expertise to develop new materials and to build very narrow components and to install them onto contact lens. So it took me a few months to persuade them to ditch his scientific career, and it was stunning, and it still is. But he switched from working in academia, in teaching. He basically switched his whole life, and quite a life, I would say, to become a startup founder. And I persuaded him to join, to try to build the first prototype. We built the first prototype. We filed for a first patent, and basically until you have prototype on the table, no one wants to invest. Once you have a prototype and the patent, everyone wants to invest. So basically, we bootstrapped the company until the first prototype was developed and the first patent was filled. And then we miraculously raised a seed round. And 2 years later, we raised recent round A, when the company was valued at 1.35 bill. The round itself was considerably huge.
The co-founder that you've spoken about, I think I know who you're talking about from our research, and he is an incredible person. And I will take it as a compliment that you said, "I'm sure you know," and then started explaining about stuff that is one atom thin. I mean, it's incredibly probably obvious to you, but I didn't realize there was material that's incredible for a start.
Gadgets and form factors and interfaces is not about engineering anymore. It's about material science, and it's strange. It may sound strange at first, but those materials we as humanity, we used to use to build this generation of computers, they're just not thin enough. You need to take smart glasses. You need hell a lot of components on board. Basically, you need to narrow down all those components to the size that will allow you to create glasses undistinguishable from normal glasses, but still, you need them to work like at least 8 hours. You need them to provide all those typical functions of modern gadgets. You cannot do this with silicon. You cannot do this with titanium. You cannot do this with steel. You cannot do this with modern current generation of materials. So basically, you need material scientists, physicists, to develop new generation of materials to build new components out of those materials.
It's incredibly interesting. And, you've built this global team in Dubai in one of the hardest tech frontiers, which is, wearable tech that's obviously almost completely invisible to the naked eye, ironically. What are some of the lessons that you've learned from managing sort of visionaries? You've got the investors, you've got stakeholders, but also you've got scientists. These are all people that are looking at it in very, very different ways. How do you manage that in your day-to-day routine?
I tend to think that I am probably an API between those words. Scientists are incredible. Product managers are incredible. Business guys are incredible. But those worlds, they do not intersect. They do not, our guys from our lab, they have not met anyone who might be considered as a product manager before joining this product. They like imagine a person like 35-year-old who spent 20 years building his academic career, and then he's suddenly being approached by a fancy product manager with a Google background who tries to, manage his work without even knowing what actually his work is. We spent like probably half a year, probably even more, learning to understand each other. At first, we tried to manage deep tech company using typical typical means of a tech company, like Kanban boards, Notion, etc., etc., etc. We understood pretty quickly that those means and those instruments, they may be implemented, but we need to alter them considering specifics of scientific approach basically to life. 1 week sprint is absolutely impossible when you try to create a new material. That's like we have marathons. We do not have sprints, and they're at least 2 weeks and 2 weeks and onwards. It's just, a brief example. Then, of course, speaking of investors, you always need to convince both investors and the market and the team that this vision of, basically to build this company and to build this gadget, you need 4 pillars. Very, very clear vision of the future and how your product influences this future. Very detailed roadmap. What exactly are you going to do? Very detailed roadmap, very detailed. Best team out there. And a lot of an executor's will to push the team through this roadmap. Investors, they just, first of all, they need to believe in this type of future we have imagined. This company is a pure venture company. You cannot imagine something more venturous than trying to develop a new generation of computing. So basically everyone understands, in case we succeed, it's going to be huge. In case we'll not succeed, we'll not succeed. Apart from that, they also need to see that apart from being good, apart from having good imagination, basically, team knows how to execute. And that is why you need to develop prototype, to constantly make them better, to fill patents, and not forget to show them to the world and to constantly convince the world that the world actually needs this gadget.
Yeah, but if you've raised at 1.5 billion valuation, right? So that makes you
No, 1.35.
That's still pretty cool. But that makes you, that puts you in a unicorn status, right? Potentially. Right. So what an incredible thing. And I'm interested to hear from you. How far has the tech got to? Like, if you were wearing it now, would I know? And could you be wearing it now?
I'm not allowed to wear them now because since it's a medical gadget and we have not approached the yes, but I could, in case I would have this permission, I could wear those prototypes we have now. So where we are, there's about 100 of us, 80% of whom are scientists and engineers. We have developed 14 prototypes, each working and showcasing separate function, like lens with screen, lens with this biosensor, this lens with that biosensor. And we will spend at least 12 to 14 months combining those prototypes into one, which we call integrated prototype. A prototype that will be capable to provide you with picture, like basically AR experience. No, AR experience, you can you can experience it right now. You will be able to experience it tomorrow at our booth at Jitex. So this is not a sales pitch. This is not a PDF. We actually do have a working prototype. Let's talk about this November 20th, 2026 prototype, integrated prototype, AR experience and biosensing. This prototype will be brought into health trials in the UAE and hopefully in the US and European Union. Once we receive permission to use this gadget on humans, hopefully it will take, well, from a few months to a few years. I really do hope to approach the market with narrow B2B use cases somewhere around 2028. Once we at least 3 generations of the gadget within B2B use cases under NDA this large, hopefully we will be ready to approach B2C market, consumer market by the end of the decade. Why so? I'm sure you heard of many companies raising insane money to develop different types of gadgets recently. They all made a common mistake. They tried to release completely new gadget, completely unseen before. First generation of gadget into general public. This is a death of a startup. You will inevitably, something will hit the fan inevitably. A startup, even huge companies like Apple and Samsung, when they develop new kind of gadget and approach a general public with a new kind of gadget, it's difficult. Let's put it this way. Let's put it mildly. It's very difficult. For a startup, we do not have credibility of Apple. We do not have credibility of Samsung. We do not have second chance to approach general public. That is why we will enhance and polish at least 3 generations of gadget with very narrow use cases within a B2B field.
What does the future of computing look like? If we fast forward to 2032, so you've got a few products out there, it's working, say it has completely worked. What has changed in our world as consumers from being able to wear something like this?
Pretty easy. We call it eyes up. Basically, now we use black rectangles of glass.
Eyes up is such a good way of saying it.
That's not me. I saw it somewhere. I didn't come up with this with this phrase. That I saw it somewhere else, probably in marketing materials of some other company. But I really do like it. So now we have I have an iPhone. You have an iPad here. We have lots of uninterchangeable black rectangles of glass, and we use them to operate apps. But frankly, do you care pretty much? Will you use Spotify or YouTube Music to listen your favorite song? You don't care. You just want to say, hey, Alexa, Siri, whatever, play Space Oddity, and that's it. That's all you want. So we will transition from using apps to using helpers, digital helpers. You will have an additional intelligent layer between you and the apps, which will start the app for you. It will choose the app yourself. For example, you cannot use WhatsApp for calls in the UAE, but you can use Botim. Just call mom. I don't care. Use Botim, use whatever. Just call mom. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's all I want. So we will have this additional intelligent layer between us and computing. And we will have, just as we have now, we have multiple form factors. We'll have multiple form factors like driving, sitting behind the desk in the office, glasses, probably some intelligent screen. Why not?
I think it's such a good way of putting it, that sort of the eyes up way of thinking about it, because at the minute tech is a distraction. But what you're saying is that it becomes something that is literally an assistant. It helps our lives, it builds our relationships, it makes everything better rather than taking our attention and hurting society.
I really don't like to think about it, but this whole project might have, have been boiling somewhere inside my head, and came out just of my, my, let's put it, tiredness with gadgets.
Mm.
A few years ago, I used to have a renovation in my house, and there were, multiple boxes in my living room, preventing me. I tried to play PlayStation, and I wasn't able to see the screen fully. So I was like, cool to put the screen on somewhere else. And to be honest, to be frank, I'm so tired with all those computers telling me how to live my life. I think if we compare tooth pain and forgetting my charger for my phone, forgetting a charger scares me more than having a tooth pain, because in case I do not have my phone, I'm not able to talk to my team, to talk to my wife, to know whether they're okay. To it's basically it's had a lot of anxiety, and I just want it to be there.
I love it. I think it's so interesting. It's interesting to talk about deep tech and where we think the future of computing is going to be. I really appreciate you stopping by today, Roman. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.